Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run. And today, I will primarily be focusing on some Wargaming titles, but I'll also be discussing a variety of other topics based on questions that I've received over the past few days while streaming. But before we get into that, very special thanks to those of you that have contributed via Patreon. Holy smokes. I'm amazed. It truly means a lot, and I don't think I'll ever have enough words to convey gratitude. It goes a long way in helping to provide you with worry-free content. And by worry-free, I mean that in this day and age, copyright strikes run rampant, and it's hard to create quality content without running into such troubles or issues. And so getting a little extra funding from viewers like you does help in not having to really worry too much about those strikes, amongst other things. You know, people using ad blocker or just low views in general. So thank you. But of course, special thanks to everyone, really, even for just watching my videos, sticking around, watching anything I make, being here for me versus the game, hitting that like button, favoriting videos, sharing them, following on Twitter and Facebook, doing all these things. I appreciate that as well. Thank you all. Okay. Moving right along. World of Tanks, first game up today. A little bit of Jagdpanther 2 gameplay here, just sniping it out with the best of them. I have been streaming this quite a bit lately alongside World of Warships, which it's kind of nice having two games that are made by the same dev that you can enjoy from time to time, because there's obvious similarities, and it's a nice transition, especially if you're having a frustrating time playing one game, you can switch to the next. Last night I was streaming World of Tanks and just getting some really bad games. I switched to World of Warships and was able to de-stress a little bit. So it is nice, and the fan base for the titles is, for the most part, similar. There may be more people that are into World of Tanks than ships, but generally it seems like you guys enjoy watching me play both of those games, so it is nice. I'm hoping that this game continues to improve. I've been hearing a lot about this sandbox mode testing thing. Apparently some major changes potentially for artillery. We'll see how that goes. I still believe that there needs to be some change. I feel like the initial implementation of artillery is flawed, and there's some definite room for improvement. Hopefully Wargaming can learn a little bit from Armored Warfare in that respect. But speaking of Armored Warfare, I guess I'll answer that question. SideStrafe, are you still playing AW? Answer to that is no. It's not even installed on my system currently. Why? It didn't differentiate enough from World of Tanks. You know, they made some great changes to artillery. They have co-op. Their tech trees work differently. But it's just not enough. Modern tanks with the same gameplay as this, or similar gameplay to this, just isn't enough to make me want to invest time and possibly money into that title. I think at the end of the day, their grand strategy was, you know, copy this game as much as you can and just throw in the modern tanks to sell people. And it just didn't work for me, at least. The engine, the gameplay itself, not optimized well enough, so there were still tech issues. But that usually seems to be the case when discussing CryEngine based titles. But I don't know. I like the direction they were heading earlier in beta. I saw them trying to differentiate themselves, daring to be different, if you will. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And it seemed to stop based on players wanting the game to be more like World of Tanks. But it was like, well, we already have World of Tanks. World of Tanks is already good at doing its job. Why do we need another one, but with modern vehicles? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe World of Tanks is going to put out a modern vehicle game one day. I've heard rumors about World of Tanks 2.0. I don't know if there are any facts or confirmation about that being a thing. Do we even need it? I don't know. We'll see. Can Wargaming handle modern vehicles? Can they implement features that will rival armored warfare? Time will tell, but are you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the most epic announcement ever? That's right. I will be focusing 100% on World of Warplanes content from here on out. News, guides, reviews of planes, tactics and strategies that you can use. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, no, this game sucks. It's still bad. Oh man, where to begin? So the reason you're seeing footage of this is because I was live streaming one night and we were talking about World of Warplanes, and a lot of the viewers were like, SideStrafe, you should stream that game for laughs, just for fun. And so I was like, you know what, why not? Let's do it. I haven't played the game since beta. I hated it then, and yeah, it hasn't improved much. Okay, so, you know, let's be fair. Visually, I don't think the game looks that bad, especially with the HD texture pack installed. The planes themselves, the way they're modeled, I think they look alright. The environments, there's a lot going on. You can watch ships fighting each other. There's lots of tracer fire, buildings getting hit, plenty of foliage, and variance in terrain, cloud cover, you name it. The game's got it as far as that. The user interface is also well designed. There's a lot of options in terms of graphics and settings. You can set your over target markers and crosshairs and things like that. Plenty of options, plenty of detail. Visuals, not my complaint. Sounds, yeah, they're hit or miss. Some of the flyby sounds are okay. I've heard they've borrowed some from World of Warships plane sounds. I don't know if that's true or not. The machine guns are absolutely terrible. Even for low caliber, 7.62 millimeter, it's almost like somebody took their pet hamster and let it run wild across a tile floor and recorded that. It's quite pathetic. It's not satisfying at all. Maybe it gets better with some of the bigger planes and the higher calibers, but at the low tiers, 1 through 3, I think I played, it's quite underwhelming, especially for an air combat game where you're spending the majority of your time shooting at targets. But okay, that's, I think, where compliments and the gameplay is just the worst thing ever. First of all, hit points and planes, they don't mix. And I don't really like hit points in any game. World of Tanks, I never liked the hit point system. World of Warships, you can kind of put up with it a bit more because they're big ships, and in reality it would take a very long time. Well, typically it would take a very long time to sink, you know, a ship, especially of, you know, battleship class or whatnot. But with planes, it's the worst. You know, we can kind of get away with it in the other ones, but here it just doesn't seem to work or make any sense. It just takes away from any level of believability and immersion. And I get that Wargaming doesn't make realistic games. I wasn't expecting IL-2 Sturmovik or anything, but it's just bad. I mean, you know, look at us chase these planes down and just try to wait for these hit points to wear off. It just doesn't work. I don't think it ever will. I mean, you can probably get better gameplay out of War Thunder Arcade. I mean, even though you'll have to deal with a bunch of other problems, you're still going to get more believable damage models out of it. The other thing is the flight model in this game, if you can even call it that. It's almost non-existent. I think you could probably go down to your local hardware store and buy one of those balsa wood planes that you throw off of your balcony, and it would most likely behave more realistically than the planes do in this game. I mean, there are times where you're diving and losing speed. It doesn't really make much sense. You're pulling off some crazy maneuvers more often than not, and it just, again, it takes away from the immersion factor, and that's really important to me. Again, I don't know if it gets any better at some of the higher tiers. I was trying to watch a few videos to see if there was anything that seemed impressive later on, but for me, it just didn't work. And, you know, we were streaming this. We had a bunch of other people watching. We had people like Bismarck and RamJB, And I think they had to go to the eye doctor afterwards due to the damage caused by watching me play this. And you know, at first it was all fun and games. It was just, you know, laughing at it and making fun of it. But after a while, it started getting depressing. Like, I probably played for over an hour, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And some people were like, man, you're still going at it. I don't know how you can do it, SideStrafe. And I was like, yeah, this is starting to get to me. I'm not sure that I can pull this off much longer. If you're wondering whether this game is still installed, no, it is not. I recorded the replays from these matches, and that was it. It was promptly removed from the hard drive. So, are you thinking, shut up, SideStrafe. You know, you don't like it. I like this game a lot. You know, there's other people. I'm sure other people like this game. Well, you might be right. But as far as the North American server is concerned, 400 players isn't a whole heck of a lot for a game. In fact, it's downright pathetic. Yeah, that was the number for NA. I heard that there's maybe 1,000 on during peak hours for the EU. I don't know if the Russian server has a better population, but 400 players in North America, or at least, I don't know if it was considered an NA server or if it was considered a US server. I think it was just NA, so yeah, but we started out, it was about 350, and then as I ended the stream, it was around 400 or so. Maybe it would have gotten to more than that during a peak hour of playing, but what I saw was not impressive, and even in terms of business, that can't be good. Again, it could be better in other regions. I have no idea. Maybe somebody else likes this game. These are just my opinions. Don't be offended by what I'm saying. It's just, you know, how I end up critiquing a game. But gosh, even looking at it, I'm almost about ready to just kind of pass out here. So I apologize if this is causing you any pain. Make sure to see a healthcare professional. It's sad though, seriously. It bums me out because I think, you know, Wargaming has a chance here to add a great flight game to their portfolio. Look at this teamwork. Look at this flight formation here, guys. Only in World of Warplanes. No, I'm just kidding. We're mostly fighting bots, by the way. That's the other issue. There's like 400 players in total, but more than likely, if you're in a tier that's not saturated with players, you're going to be fighting bots. There might be 2 or 3 actual people in your match. That was the other thing that I failed to complain about. Okay, but back to talking about what's sad. World of Tanks, I enjoy it, okay? World of Warships, also enjoy it. In many ways, I think Warships is a more balanced and enjoyable game than Tanks. But Warplanes is so bad that you would think that they would go back to the drawing board and say, all right, you know, we screwed up. We came from World of Tanks. We tried to make another game. We put a team on it that's never made a flight game before. Well, there's your first mistake. Let's start over. We have all these art assets and things that we can work with. All we have to do is okay, I'm not going to say all we have to do because I'm not saying that game development is easy, but, you know, for the sake of this discussion, all we have to do is go back and tweak the gameplay. There's room for a good flight game in their portfolio because you've already got land, sea, and why not have something great in the sky? Why not combat War Thunder in some way? Does it have to look exactly like World of Tanks? Does it have to have hit points? Does it have to be as basic? Really? Does it? I mean, why? Why don't you just do something different? Would it hurt you? Would it bother you that much? I mean, how much does it cost to run these servers compared to the amount of people that are playing this game? Is anybody out there buying premium time specifically to play this? Is there anybody buying premium planes? Like, what are the numbers? I would love to know if this game is doing well enough for them to keep it going in this manner. it really bums me out because I'm dying to play a flight game again, and most of you know that I think I just went through that playing. Most of you know that I've given up on War Thunder due to Gaijin's behavior and the things that they've done to that title. So, you know, I don't really have much else to play in the way of a flight game, and I'm not too into hardcore simulators. Like, I'm not really into IL-2 Sturmovik. I'm not that crazy about the hardcore flight sim genre these days. I kind of just want something in between, which is why I used to love War Thunder historical battles. That was my favorite thing to play. I want something like that again. I think Wargaming could just surprise us all and do it if they actually hired people that knew what they were doing with planes, but the desire has to be there. The financial need has to be there, and maybe they just don't care. I don't know. Maybe it's just abandonware to a certain extent. I guess they could have a skeleton crew still developing for this. I don't know what the story is. You know, I don't follow the news. Maybe you guys know something that I don't, but... Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, how about we move on to our third and final game of the day. One that's not suffering nearly as much as World of Warplanes. That's going to be World of Warships. And I think this is a game that also has a permanent home on my gaming SSD, alongside games like World of Tanks and MechWarrior Online. As far as vehicle, tier-based, grindy games are concerned, this is one of my favorites. I actually find it to be more balanced than the World of Tanks. I think more polished in many respects. The way the UI is designed and the tech trees are built up. I also never feel like I'm at a massive disadvantage in this game. Even if I'm the low man on the totem pole in terms of ship class, I always feel like I can do some work on the enemy. I can switch to HE rounds and set people on fire. I can specifically target smaller ships, destroyers. I can chase down planes in my American cruiser. Yeah, I don't have too many complaints about this one. Maybe certain aesthetics. The amount of rust that they put on certain vessels. If you look at the North Carolina hull, for example, it's overly rusted, and I get that salt water and metal doesn't mix. And, you know, maybe we're pretending it's wartime and there's going to be some neglect, but really, I think they overdo it to a point where some of the ships look like they've been sitting around, abandoned for many years. And I think, in a way, it's downright disrespectful. So I kind of hope that in time they clean up some of the hulls. I'm not saying they have to be pristine, fresh out of the factory or anything, but tone it down a bit, Wargaming, because it tends to look ridiculous. But anyways... moving right along, Tirpitz gameplay here. No, I do not have access to any of the new German battleships yet. I know that tree is coming out, I think, on the 22nd of August. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, I think that there is a premium Tier 7 battleship that some people have access to, some streamers and YouTubers. I don't have that yet. If Wargaming wants to hook me up, hey, I'm open to it. Although, considering that I just tore World of Warplanes a new one, I'm not so sure that they're gonna want to. Come on, Wargaming, you know yourselves that game is not great, so don't get on me about it. But oh, also the national voiceover that they added for Germans, Russians, and Japanese is absolutely fantastic. It kind of borders silly at times, but I think it's fine for this kind of game. You have that national big booming announcer voice, and then you have the radio call-ins, which I'm sure you'll hear from time to time, like that, calling out the position of other vessels in German is nice. But oh, this was a cool thing. I'd never seen this since returning to Warships. It said Cyclone inbound. I know they had added weather some time ago, and you would kind of see it like raining or snowing at the beginning of the match, and then it would go away immediately after starting. But this was the first time that I had seen rain show up in the middle of a match, and it gets really foggy to the point where we lose quite a bit of visibility, and it's very gradual, and this eerie music kicks in. It's kind of cool. I like it, but it seems super rare. Because I've been playing this game for the past few days, and this was the first time that I'd seen the weather actually kick in. I kind of wish it would happen a little bit more often. You know, not every match, of course, because maybe it could get annoying after a while, but, you know, enough that it becomes noticeable and you perhaps have to change your tactics. But, you know, with that said, I'm not a huge fan of invisible gameplay mechanics. I really don't like invisible tanks in World of Tanks. I never have, even since beta. I don't like it in warships. It's less of an issue, I feel, in this game due to the open water fighting mechanics of the title. But if it makes sense, if it's done in a way that makes sense due to limited visibility from bad weather, then I'm okay with it. Because, you know, that was an actual threat. Having fog that is so dense that you can barely see your hand in front of your face, you know? Here, as you can see, look at this. It's just getting darker. It's more eerie. You've got that kind of, that ominous music in the background as well, kicking in. You just have to move slow and keep your eyes peeled. Move with your allies and make sure that you don't go full speed into an enemy that just manages to pop up in front of you due to the limited visibility. It's a really neat mechanic that I think a lot more games need to take advantage of. Thinking of other titles that maybe do it. Battlefield with the dynamic weather on some of the levels, like the Levolution stuff. Maybe they've done it over time, but I really do appreciate features that add to the immersion, especially if they help in creating tense gameplay. But moving right along, as this is an episode of the Strafing Run, I'd like to talk about a few other things, primarily the release of No Man's Sky. Many of you have been asking about that one, whether I'll cover it in some form. The original intention was to create a First Contact episode of the title when it comes out on PC on the 12th of this month, being August. However, since the game has come out on PlayStation 4 first, I've seen quite a few live streams and videos of the game. I'm not as impressed. I did put in to get a press copy. I don't know if they'll give me one. I'm going to say probably not, since it's a overhyped game. I think most developers look at the dollar signs and then question whether they need the additional marketing. I don't think I'll get a free copy of it. So now it's more so, should I spend $60 on a game that I'm not sure of? The thing is, I think I was hoping for a little bit more from the gameplay. The procedural planet generation is impressive, but I feel like that's going to wear off. And then it's going to come down to core gameplay. I don't know if it's there. For example, the ship flight seems to be very super basic. And I wasn't expecting a simulator. I wasn't expecting Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous level of ship control, but I was expecting a little bit more than what we have in No Man's Sky. It seems like super basic. I think the landing mechanic is even handled automatically. It seems like most people are just pressing a button and you kind of just land wherever. Like, you don't have to manually land, or maybe you can, maybe it's optional, I don't know. The flight maneuverability doesn't seem like anything great. I don't even think you can flip your ship around when you're like in atmosphere. It just seems like mega basic, even more basic than I thought it was going to be. The combat, whether you're in your ship or on foot, seems to be kind of bland as well. I don't know, and some of the procedurally generated creatures are so extreme that it's off-putting. It almost seems... I want to be careful in saying lazy, but I don't know. I mean, you end up with some really weird aliens that I guess in a way could be considered charming, but after a while, it's like, okay, we're in a universe of mutants. You know, they look like things that were born out of nuclear war. I don't know. But maybe that's what people like about it. Maybe people enjoy the procedurally generated environments and the creatures that live within them, and how kind of kooky and crazy it is. Maybe that's the charm, I guess. I really want to like the game. I just don't know. Maybe it's more fun to play than it is to watch. So maybe I should give it a chance. But my gut's telling me that I'm not going to enjoy it in the long term. The other issue has been how vague the developer has been. Specifically Sean Murray, the guy that's, I guess, the lead programmer or the founder of Hello Games. He seems to be one of those, hey, I'm an indie dev kind of guys. I'm here to save your day. You know, I'm an indie dev. You can trust me. We're just a small team. We left our jobs and I sold my house to do this. And, you know, I feel like in this day and age, the whole like indie dev tagline is there to sell copies of games because we can trust the indie devs. You know, screw the big name publishers and these AAA titles. Indie all the way. You're making a pixel title? Take my money. I mean, but I think even nowadays, indie is just a sales pitch, and even indie devs are guilty of the crimes of AAA developers and publishers, and we have to be careful when buying those products as well. I mean, it may be by an indie studio, but it's a $60 price tag, so it's the price of a AAA title, and Sony has had a large hand in marketing this thing. The answers that Sean Murray gives to a lot of interviewers, super vague. You know, is there multiplayer? Yes. Okay, well, what kind of, you know, it's very rare that you'll ever come across anybody. You're probably not going to see anybody. And it's almost like, well, then is there? Or are you just saying that so that people will buy it in hopes of finding people to play with? The reason I bring up this example is because recently 2 live streamers ended up in the same location. They found the same planet. They found the same shopkeeper facility place wherever you can buy things. They landed on the planet and they could not see each other. They had both live streams up at the same time. They tried everything possible. They relogged. They made sure to have PlayStation Plus account. They did everything they possibly could to try to make sure to see each other. And they couldn't. So it seemed like there is no multiplayer. They flat out lied about that. Now, some people are saying, well, they're on different servers. They can't see each other. You're on a different shard or whatever. I don't know, okay? I'm not going to say one way or the other what happened. I have no idea. But there's just never a definite answer from this guy. He's always kind of, maybe, sure, you know, it's just kind of politician answers that you get from even big name devs. Like, bro, just tell us what the deal is with your game. Is there or isn't there? Can you confirm? I don't know. And even if it's just a single player game, I don't care. That's not the problem. For me, more so at the end of the day, it's just, how long am I going to enjoy this game? How long can I run around kooky, procedurally generated planets if there's no depth to the flight or the ground combat or any of that? I mean, maybe it's just not for me. I think going in, I was hoping for a more complete, colorful version of Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen, because I feel that those games have a long ways to go before they're considered actually completed. I run out of things to do in those games. There's just not enough depth. I guess I wanted No Man's Sky to fill that void, and it might not do that either. I don't know if I can spend my days collecting minerals and just trying to upgrade my ships. I think there's some sort of story, or there's supposed to be in that game. You're supposed to find artifacts and learn languages and things like that, but I don't know. Flying around and naming different planets, I think after the eye candy wears off, the new game smell goes away. It might not be for me, but again, I'm just going to have to try it for myself, or maybe wait for a few more people's opinions on it before I can truly judge it. I think there will probably be a first impressions video of it at some point. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because obviously a late first impressions isn't going to be of much use to you guys. I'm sure you're going to want an opinion from somebody that you can trust. Hopefully you can trust me when it comes to that sort of thing. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I really hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of the Strafing Run, featuring World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, and World of Warships. I'll probably be streaming Warships and Tanks a little bit more. Again, we'll see how No Man's Sky goes. If I do end up enjoying that game to some degree, then I'm sure I'll stream that as well. Don't forget to take a look at the links in the description below. Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, if you'd like to support me further there. It helps a lot, and it is always greatly appreciated. But with that said, hope everybody's doing well. Thanks again for watching, and I will definitely see you on the next one.